woke up as usual in the middle of the night. The clock showed 2 o'clock. My legs were buzzing terribly as if I had run a marathon. My body was exhausted from fatigue, and the head was breaking apart. And so it was from day to day. For the umpteenth time, I wake up at 2 o'clock and my whole body aches terribly. Getting out of bed, I went to the kitchen, taking a painkiller and taking a sip of water. I returned to bed where I tossed and turned for a long time and could not sleep. The next day I was like a sleepy fly. I worked as a carpenter at a furniture factory. I made blanks for future tables, cabinets, and other rubbish. The work was pretty hard, and that's why I somehow managed to stay at work. And in the same sluggish state, I crawled home. I had planned to spend the night with my girlfriend, but my condition gave me no peace. Closer to 10 in the evening, the girl and I were sitting in an embrace on the couch in front of the TV, and I didn't notice how I started falling asleep. "Hey, are you sleeping already?" My girlfriend clicked me off. Not at all. So I dozed off. "Isn't it getting better?" she asked. "But I don't know, I didn't even notice much improvement. Are you taking pills?" "No, I don't care about these pills. They only make me feel worse." And at this phrase the phone rang. I picked up the phone. On the other end I heard a woman's voice. As it turned out later, it was the wife of my work colleague, and she asked if we left work with him together. And then her hubby often liked to stay with the men after work. I replied that it seemed her husband was still staying. I went home alone. An hour later, our movie on the box has long been over. The girl fell asleep on my shoulder. I started nodding off too. Soon I dozed off. I had a terrible nightmare. I could not fully explain my dream with any specifics, but I clearly remember only that I dreamed of dark places, blood, and screams. In the morning, I woke up in a cold sweat. The girl wasn't there. Apparently she went to work. Without bothering her with calls, I got ready for work. Myself sitting in the kitchen for a cup of coffee, I glanced at the drugs lying on the table. The ones my girlfriend asked about. They were prescribed to me by my psychiatrist, to whom I have been going for 6 months. After swallowing a couple of pills, I was about to leave. As I was passing by the mirror, I noticed something on my face. There are decent-sized scratches on the right cheek, like from nails. What the fuck, where did I manage that? I didn't seem to quarrel. And without paying much attention to it, I left the apartment. At the end of the working day, I looked at my phone. There were 20 missed calls from the girl. What a jerk you are. Where have you been hanging around at all? I woke up that night and you weren't there. At first, I didn't understand what she meant at all. I mean, where have I been? We fell asleep together on the couch with you. Have you forgotten? Well, you're a moron. You know, it's even very right that you go to this psychiatrist. I advise you to go to a mental hospital. Do you understand? After these words, she hung up. I was completely confused for a long time, digesting everything she said, and I couldn't even understand what she was talking about. After all, I remember for sure that I didn't go anywhere, and I slept with her. Calls to her phone were not successful. She was simply dumping. I was lying, looking at the ceiling, and didn't notice how I fell asleep. I had nightmares all night, only this time they were more distinct. At first, I was walking down some gloomy street again. Looking around, I realized that I was at my job. There was only one guard at his post inside. I approach him, and then, as if cut off, the dream abruptly switches. Then I remember everything jerkily in chunks. I have a hammer in my hands and it's covered in blood. A guard was lying on the sawing machine. I beat off all his hands with a hammer, broke all his bones. His screams made my ears pop. And then I just saw it starting from the crotch and ending with the top of the head. I jumped up abruptly from my bed. I was dripping with icy sweat. God, a freaking dream. I didn't go to work today. I have a high fever. I've been lying in bed all day. My head was still pounding. I don't remember a day when it didn't hurt at all. My body buzzed even more. I fell asleep several times, but strangely, the terrible dreams did not bother me anymore. I was woken up by a phone call. It was my psychiatrist. "Hello, Andrew. How are you? You've been gone a long time. Why did you stop coming to the appointment?" Do you remember your medications? I need to track your dynamics. How are you feeling, by the way? Do headaches bother you? Yes. Hello, Alex. Yes. Somehow not having time to do all the work back and forth. The headaches are very terrible. To be honest, it's just unbearable. And yes, and the body still aches terribly. I don't know what it is. This is not good, Andrew. If headaches continue to bother you, you urgently need to increase the dosage. Do you understand? It can be a deterioration. You have to understand that accident a year ago and your head injury, Andrew, is not a joke. Yes. I understand everything, Alex. I understand everything. I will definitely come to you as soon as I have a free day. After finishing the conversation, I took my pills. After a while, I felt better. My head let go a little. It has been a rarity in recent days, and my mood has even lifted. I decided to call my friend. I haven't seen him in a while. Time flew by pretty quickly. We spent half a day with a friend at his house, when suddenly I was seized with headaches again. I lay down on his diwani and fell asleep. I started having a nightmare again. I'm standing in the middle of the kitchen in an unfamiliar apartment with a screwdriver in my hands. A man is sitting on a stool in front of me, and he doesn't have both eyes. And I'm standing there looking at the screwdriver, at the end of which the eyeball of this unfortunate man was hanging. I couldn't help myself. I continued to torture him by piercing his face with a screwdriver more and more. I knew that I was doing something unimaginable and terrible. But there was nothing I could do. Everything was like in a fog. In the end, I took a knife and started scalping him. At this point, I woke up. My condition was still accompanied by headaches, but only one fact alerted me. I woke up at home. What? How I ended up here? I remember exactly how I fell asleep at Vince's. I picked up the phone and dialed it, but no one answered the phone. It must have been 9:30 at work. I decided to dial my girlfriend again, but her phone was disconnected. Hysterical as usual. In short, her repertoire. Nothing changes, I muttered to myself and went to work. Upon arrival, the boss immediately called me to his office.
Andrew, how are you? Is everything all right?
Well, headaches still torment a little, but in general everything is fine.
The fact is that, Andrew, we had an emergency. 2 dead employees were found in the workshop tonight. Machine operator Nick and our guard, Dave.
I felt goosebumps, and I received a call from his wife that night. What happened here in general? Who could have done this? My thoughts intertwined, and the headache began to intensify.
Can you hear me, Andrew? Where are you hovering? Andrew, Nick was crushed right on this press like a doll. There's practically nothing left of him. And Dave was sawn on the machine.
And here the fear has finally crept up to my consciousness. I immediately remembered my dream. No, not. Somewhere it's all nonsense. It's just a dream. Just a dream. I remember exactly how I woke up in my bed. No, it's just a terrible Steve. That's all I could squeeze out of myself.
Andrew, I understand everything. I've known you for a very long time, and I value my employees, and in no case do I want to hint at anything. But the fact is that the security camera at the guard post captured you were the only one who approached the post that night.